It's Thursday night, and you know what that means. It's another edition of TXN Sports World. Hello, friends, and welcome to this special NBA playoff edition of TXN Sports World. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined, as always, by good old MF Michael Fletcher. We are maybe awaiting the presence of Michael Bullock. I don't know. We'll see. We apologize for the late start. Major technical difficulties on our ends here this evening, and hopefully it'll hold up as we progress. So it's very simple what we're going to do tonight. We're going to be previewing all 8 of the first round playoff series in the upcoming NBA playoffs that start this weekend. And we're going to go in series order. So we're going to start with the series that's going to lead it all off this Saturday afternoon at 1 p.m. And that will be in the Western Conference, where it will be the number 5 seed, the Utah Jazz, squaring off against the number 4 seed, the Dallas Mavericks. And here we go. The Jazz and Mavericks head to the first round drifting in opposite directions, with Dallas winning 20 of 27 and the Jazz dropping 7 of their last 11, blowing leads of 25 to the Clippers and 21 to the Warriors. When the calendar flipped to 2022, they were top 3 in the West. But the postseason serves as a reset, and in a series that should be closely contested, anything's possible. The Jazz once again proved to be a solid regular season team for the most part, riding the distinct skills of Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert to 1 win shy of 50. The core of the club remained intact from a season ago, with the exception Joe Ingles, who was traded at midseason, and this familiarity served Utah well. The Jazz are anxious to recover from a pair of painful recent playoff exits in 2020 to Denver and last season to the Clippers, who were without Kawhi Leonard. The Mavs were rejuvenated by a midseason trade that brought Spencer Dinwiddie, whose late-game heroics upon arrival were welcomed by a club that leans heavily on Doncic for that role. Dallas will often use 3 guards, Doncic, Dinwiddie, and Jalen Brunson, to their benefit and dare teams to match up with them. Still, the Mavericks could use some help from the bigs and were pleased when Dwight Powell responded as of late. Also, Dorian Finney-Smith has averaged almost 14 points since February. The 3 things to watch. Number 1, will Luka Doncic be too much to handle? The All-Star just put together an MVP-worthy season by leading the Mavs in scoring, assists, rebounds, which was especially impressive at 9.1, and steals, ranking among the league leaders in all categories. He also is masterful in exploiting isolation mismatches, and in the past, Dallas created switches to put Doncic on Rudy Gobert. Ordinarily, this sounds insane, given Gobert's defense, but the crafty Luka won those battles. By the way, Doncic is dealing with a calf injury, but has almost a week to rest. 2, can Rudy Gobert and Donovan Mitchell get along? The 2 All-Stars are saying all the right things, but there seems to be smoke, if not fire, between them. Just going by body language, from Mitchell when Gobert fumbles the pass, from Gobert when he doesn't get touches. Coach Quinn Snyder pleaded for outsiders to refrain from breaking them apart, as if fans and media actually hold such power. In any event, winning cures all, and the best way to squelch all speculation is by winning a round or 2 and keep it moving. And 3, what if Utah's 3-point shots don't fall? This has always been an issue with the Jazz, who rely on the long ball more than most teams. When they're efficient, they're tough to beat. When they're misfiring, the Jazz become unglued only because they lack the personnel and a system for a plan B. No interior scoring, few players who can hit mid-range jumpers. The number to know is 9.4. Luka Doncic averaged 9.4 minutes per possession, the second highest average for any player in 9 seasons of player tracking. Doncic ranked second in the league in usage rate, career high at 36.8%, and was assisted on only 14.2% of his buckets, the lowest rate among 215 players with at least 200 total field goals. The Mavs added a playmaker in Spencer Dinwiddie at the deadline, but Doncic has actually averaged 9.7 minutes of possession since Dinwiddie's arrival, up from 9.2 minutes prior to that. If Doncic is healthy, that number should get even higher in the playoffs, as the Mavs lost to the LA Clippers in 7 games last year. Doncic averaged an amazing 12.1 minutes of possession and registered a usage rate of 39.1%, second highest mark in the last 25 postseasons. And this year's first-round opponent is not the type of team that will take the ball out of Doncic's hands. In the regular season, 21% of the Jazz opponents' possessions, the league's highest rate, were pick-and-roll ball handler possessions. And as the 2 teams split their season series, the Mavs recorded assists on only 50.9% of their field goals, their lowest rate versus any Western Conference opponent. Prediction: when Tim Hardaway Jr. was lost for the year and the Mavs finally ran out of patience with Kristaps Porzingis and traded him, Dallas seemed like a team caught in transition during the season. Never a comfortable position. But Doncic suddenly went on a tear, and here they are. He seems poised to produce an epic series, and you wonder if Utah, a poor defensive team outside of Gobert, has anyone capable of stopping him. The sense is Luka will put his signature stamp on this first round. And with that, I have the Dallas Mavericks winning this series in 6 games. So nothing more to say here. So good old MF Michael Fletcher, if you're all ready to go, we got the Utah Jazz and the Dallas Mavericks first round tipping off the NBA playoffs all together. Who you got?
Yeah. First off, I want to say good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you guys can hear me.
Yes.
Don't know for sure. Oh, you can hear me. Okay, excellent. Look, the way I feel about this first round, it's going to be very interesting to watch. Obviously, you got to think about the offense.
And we have lost MF for a moment, but we should get him back momentarily. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those nights here tonight, and normally it's me who has all these issues and whatnot. All right, MF. I see you. We got your normal sign in here, ready to go. So, go on. You're on.
There we go. I actually was changing over from my cell phone to my actual laptop. So I finally got the laptop to work. All right, so back to the first round. As far as the match goes, it's going to be an interesting matchup to say the very least. But I actually disagree with you, Anthony. I think the Luka injury is actually going to be affecting Denver, and as a matter, I think that it's going to affect Dallas more than anything else. And I actually believe Utah's going to win the series. You know, calf injuries are really suspected more than anything else, and I really feel like, and especially at the point that Luka did suffer the injury, I think it's going to be a bad situation for them. So I actually disagree with you, Anthony Florio, and I'm actually going to go and I'm actually going to say that when this thing is all said and done, I actually believe that that the Utah Jazz is going to be moving on to the next round of the playoffs. So I got Utah winning in 7, and Anthony set me up for the next series.
And the next series, which will tip off on Saturday at 3:30, staying in the West, it will be the number 2 seed. Believe it or not, the Memphis Grizzlies are the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, and they'll be squaring off against the number 7 seed, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Minnesota earned their way in by winning their play-in tournament game against the LA Clippers the other night. So MF, the number 2 seed, very surprising 2 seed Memphis against an equally surprising 7 seed Minnesota. 2 big surprises here in the West. Who comes out?
I gotta say it's the Memphis Grizzlies. Right now, they're just a team on a destiny. You know, everybody's been talking about other teams in the West that they could win the NBA championship. When it comes to Memphis, they're like, why not us? They got Ja Morant, who's absolutely been killing it. However, he has dipped a little bit in the last few games. I think he's nursing an injury, but whenever it's in the playoff format, anything goes. And I just feel like Ja is due for a big moment. So for me, Ja Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies, I think Minnesota will get at least 1 game. However, I think Memphis is going to finish them in 5. I just think that they're just way too good, way too powerful. Minnesota, look, when they won their series, when they won that playing game, it was like they won the NBA championship. They just, things happen, and I get it, and I'm happy for Minnesota. But now you're going up against an established team like the Memphis Grizzlies, Grizzlies that are very focused, very in tune, and they've been playing the best basketball. As a matter of fact, this is one of the teams that you do not want to face in the playoffs. And I really believe that Memphis is actually poised for a deep run. As a matter of fact, I'll go as far to call them a team that possibly could make the Western Conference Finals. That's how good this team is. So for me, this is going to be an easy call for me. Lock of the playoffs, Memphis in 5. Anthony, go.
We've heard plenty about Memphis' incredible record of 20-4 without Ja Morant on the floor. And Tuesday, we saw Minnesota's capabilities when an opponent takes out all-star and leading scorer Karl Anthony Towns. Largely ineffective in the team's 109-104 play-in tournament victory over the LA Clippers, Towns fouled out with 7:34 left to play, leaving Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell to carry the Timberwolves to the playoffs for just the second time in the last 18 years. Minnesota passed a significant test just to claw into the postseason. The brash young Memphis Grizzlies represent an even tougher task in this upcoming matchup between teams short on postseason experience but heavy on ambition, athleticism, and talent. Led by Morant, the Grizzlies birthed the next generation of grit and grind by steamrolling through opponents this season on the way to capturing the NBA's second-best record at 56-26 and winning 19 of their last 22 at FedEx Forum. In doing so, Memphis became one of just 3 teams to seize at least 30 home wins this season. 2 of those wins at FedEx Forum came courtesy of Minnesota. But once Memphis hit the road to face the Timberwolves, the tables turned. The 4-game regular season series between these teams was a 2-2 tie, with Russell averaging 31 points to lead Minnesota and Morant averaging 20 points a game. Morant missed a total of 25 games, but he participated in every matchup against the T-Wolves in the series, where all but one game was decided by 8 points or fewer. The teams haven't met since February 24, when Russell and Towns combined for 59 points in a 119-114 win. So don't be fooled by Minnesota's 7th seeding. In fact, the Timberwolves are just as brash and talented as the Grizzlies, which should make for a physical and competitive series. The 3 things to watch: number 1, how Memphis defends Towns. LA Clippers coach Tyronn Lue provided somewhat of a blueprint on Tuesday, utilizing Nicholas Batum on Towns to take away the perimeter before doubling with Ivica Zubac below the free throw line. That strategy in foul trouble resulted in Towns shooting 0 of 7 in the first half for 2 points, and he picked up 4 fouls. Towns didn't knock down his first bucket of the second half until the 7:05 mark of the third quarter. Grizzlies likely won't need to resort LA's strategy with a Kia Defensive Player of the Year candidate in Jaren Jackson Jr. and Steven Adams in the front court. Towns is Minnesota's leading scorer, but he didn't lead the Timberwolves in that department during any of the team's matchups against Memphis in the regular season. 2, the Pat Beverly effect. Beverly scored just 7 points against the Clippers, but we all saw the effect the scrappy veteran had on the outcome of the game. Beverly has played in 59 career playoff games and knows all the tricks and hustle moves that irritate opponents into game-changing mistakes. If you've ever heard the expression, you've got the right one, then you know that's what Beverly's got on his hands facing these Grizzlies. Dylan Brooks, Desmond Bane, and Morant aren't afraid to mix it up, and they'll chirp back and forth with Beverly all game. The key for them is not to let Beverly's antics negatively affect their performance. Same goes for Beverly and the T-Wolves, because you better believe the Grizzlies have frustrated plenty of opponents with their trash talk. Just ask LeBron James. 3, talent galore. Going into this series, you'll hear... MF, excuse me 1 second. I have an emergency here, so just give me 1 second, please. All right, I apologize for that. So let me get back to my notes here. Okay. And number 3 was talent galore. And going into the series, you'll hear plenty about highlight machines, Morant and Anthony Edwards, along with Towns. But don't forget about Bane, Jackson, Brooks, and Russell. Russell has dropped 30 points or more in 3 games this season against the Grizzlies. And we all saw what he did to lift Minnesota to the postseason. Bane is a candidate for Kia Most Improved Player honors and one of the league's most lethal three-point shooters. Jackson is a standout defender, while Brooks is widely considered the heart and soul of the team. And there's a lot more star power to this matchup than you think. And the number to know here is 57.6. Grizzlies averaged 57.6 points in the paint, 4.3 more than any other team this season, and the third most in the 26 seasons for which points in the paint have been tracked. They're 56.9 points in the paint per 100 possessions, with the second most over those 26 seasons. topped only by the 59.8 per 100 scored by the 2012-13 Denver Nuggets. With their dominance in the paint, they had the league's fourth-ranked offense, despite ranking 26th in mid-range field goal percentage, 17th in three-point percentage, and 28th in the percentage of their shots that came from three-point range. Grizzlies' attack was led by Ja Morant, who ranked third with 20.9 drives a game and led the league with 16.6 points in the paint, a mark that's only been topped by Shaq 8 times, Giannis Antetokounmpo 3 times, and Zion Williamson over these last 26 years. But they also got shots inside via transition. Led the league with 17.7 fast break points a game, and via the glass, they led the league with 18.7 second chance points a game, with Steven Adams leading the league in offensive rebounding percentage at about 16. All three of those numbers, points in the paint, fast break points, and second chance points, regularly go down, both per game and as a percentage of total points scored in the playoffs. So the Grizzlies may need to be better from the perimeter, and the Wolves ranked 7th in the lowest percentage of their opponent's shots that came in the paint. But Minnesota will need to be better in regard, both in transition and on the glass. The Wolves ranked 28th in both transition points allowed a game, 21.5, and defensive rebounding percentage, 70.6% in the regular season. Home team won every game during the regular season series, and the Grizz own home court advantage here, but there's more than just that going on here. Memphis squad tasted the playoffs for the first time last season and entered this season battle-tested and hungrier. For all the youth and talent on the roster, the Grizzlies play smart, poised, hard-nosed ball, and they have more playmakers than Minnesota. Memphis wins, but I think it's going to be just a smidge more. I got Memphis in 6, but I agree. So with that, we're going to move on to our next series on Saturday evening. It'll be at 6 p.m. on Saturday, and it's the only Eastern Conference series that you're going to see on Saturday because 3 of the 4 games are Western Conference games. This is the only Eastern game you'll see on Saturday. And it's a rematch of one of the great playoff series in recent years that went down in 2019 in the second round. As this time it'll be the number 4 seed, the Philadelphia 76ers, against the number 5 seed, the Toronto Raptors. Toronto, of course, in the postseason for the first time since their championship win in 2019, their surprising championship win in 2019. A few months ago, when the Philadelphia 76ers were without a trade partner for the absent Ben Simmons, there was a worry that they were wasting a great year from MVP candidate Joel Embiid. But the Sixers didn't just find a taker for Simmons. They landed a former MVP in the deal. Now James Harden can help Embiid make the most of this season, while Embiid can help Harden make up for postseason shortcomings of the past. With Harden and Embiid on the floor in the regular season, the Sixers outscored their opponents by 15.9 points per 100 possessions, 5th best mark among 719 two-man combinations that played at least 500 minutes. But Philly had bench issues, and Harden had some rough performances as the Sixers went 7-6 with him in uniform against teams that reached the playoffs or the play-in. That included 8 of 24 shooting and 2 losses to their first-round opponent. Toronto Raptors have recovered from a rough season in Tampa and a 14-17 start to the season to go 34-17 since New Year's Eve and earn the 5 seed in the East. That included a 7-2 mark against the top 4 teams in the East, including those 2 wins over the Sixers. Toronto has a terrific ensemble cast led by the 2 guys, Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam, remaining from their championship rotation. The Raptors play aggressively on both ends of the floor, and they have what it takes to make things difficult for the Sixers. 3 things to watch. Number 1, will the Raptors play small? On average, the Raptors aren't small. 7 of their 9 rotation players are 6'7" or taller. And Coach Nick Nurse hasn't been afraid to employ lineups that don't include either of the 2 true guards, Van Vliet and Gary Trent Jr. But none of those 7 guys are taller than 6'9" or within 45 pounds of the 7-foot, 280-pound Embiid. And when the Raptors have been fully healthy, they've started Siakam at the 5. They were never fully healthy against the Sixers, with Van Vliet and OG Anunoby each missing 3 of the 4 meetings, and Siakam and Scotty Barnes each missing 1. But they did have some success, outscoring the Sixers by 11 in about 28 minutes with Siakam or Chris Boucher as their biggest guy on the floor. 2, matchups don't mean as much with the Raptors. Barnes is the Raptor who defended Harden the most in the regular season and will likely get the assignment in Game 1. And whether or not the Raptors start someone bigger than Siakam at center, The Sixers offense will be less about individual matchups and more about how Philly deals with a Toronto defense that will swarm the ball whenever Harden or Embiid get near the paint and force the Sixers to move the ball. In their 4 regular season meetings, the Sixers recorded assists on 70% of their field goals, their highest rate versus any Eastern Conference opponent, but they also committed 17 turnovers in their most recent loss in Toronto. And 3, the Sixers bench could determine the series. In each of their 2 post-All-Star losses to the Raptors, Joel Embiid recorded a positive plus-minus with the Sixers outscoring Toronto by 15 points in his 75 total minutes. But Philly was outscored 61-36 in Embiid's 21 minutes on the bench. And if that sounds familiar, it's because the Sixers were outscored by 109 points in 99 minutes, with Embiid off the floor in their 2019 conference semifinal series against the Raptors. Both teams have changed a lot since then, but Philly, having traded Andre Drummond in the Harden deal, still has the same issue with no clear option at backup center. Sixers will have even less depth in the games in Toronto, with the not fully vaccinated Matisse Thybulle unable to enter Canada. The number to know is 7. The Raptors were the only team that ranked in the top 5 in both turnover rate and opponent turnover rate, finishing 3rd in the former, 12.8 per 100 possessions, and 1st in the latter, 16.2 per 100. With that, they had the league's best turnover differential by a healthy margin, committing 3.4 fewer per game than in their opponents. Raptors also had the league's second best offensive rebound differential, grabbing 3 a game more than their opponents. And with those 2 advantages, the Raptors averaged 7 more shooting opportunities, field goal attempts, or trips to the line a game. That was the biggest differential for any team in the last 23 years. And that's how they were able to win 48 games, with a discrepancy in regard to the most important thing in basketball, shooting. Raptors ranked in the bottom 5 in effective field goal percentage and in the middle of the pack in opponent effective field goal percentage. Sixers had a higher effective field goal percentage than the Raptors in all 4 of their head-to-head meetings this year, but Toronto won 3 of the 4, averaging 10 more shooting opportunities per contest. Raptors committed 5 fewer turnovers, 42 of 47, and grabbing 29 more offensive rebounds, 57-28, than the Sixers over the 4 games. It would not be a surprise if Toronto pulls off the upset. They've been terrific over the last few months, and they've had head-to-head success against Philly. But if the Sixers can take care of the ball, they've been one of the league's most improved teams in that regard this season, and keep Toronto off the offensive glass to a certain degree, the Raptors will have a tough time scoring. Nurse will certainly give the Sixers some different looks defensively, but no matter what defense the Raptors are in, they'll have a tough time keeping Harden and Embiid off the free throw line. Doc Rivers should be able to extend Embiid's minutes, and Toronto doesn't have a real answer for the big man. I say it goes to distance, but I say Philadelphia wins the series. I got Philly winning this series, 7 games. Philly gets their revenge from 2019, and that Kawhi Leonard rim job heard throughout the world. So I don't think it comes down to that, but I do think Philly will win this time and get their revenge from 3 years ago. So give me Philly in 7. MF, the only Eastern Conference series to start on Saturday. Who you got?
You know what? I've been hearing all the experts saying that they believe that Toronto's going to win the series. I've heard almost everybody. I haven't heard that many Philly people or that many people saying that Philly's going to win the series. The majority of it has been Toronto in the upset, Toronto in the upset. And the one thing that they've always been talking about is James Harden. Can he deliver in the clutch? Can he play in a level that's worthy of being in the playoffs? Because a lot of the times when Harden gets to this round, he goes small. He doesn't come up with the clutch moments. He doesn't come up with the big moments, and it's like there's a choking mechanism on with James Harden. Now, Joel Embiid, in my opinion, is the most valuable player in the NBA this year. I'm just putting it out there right now for the whole world to know. Embiid is the MVP. If he continues to average 30 points a game in this series, I don't care if you're Fred VanVleet, I don't care if you're Siakam, you're not going to stop Philly. And I do believe, Anthony, that this will go the distance. This will go 7. And I do got Philadelphia winning the series. So that's what I'm going to say. Anthony, it's yours.
And MF will start the final series that will start on Saturday, going back to the West. And it will be the number 3 seed, the Golden State Warriors, squaring off against the number 7 seed, the Denver Nuggets. MF, I know it's been a rough couple of years for the Golden State Warriors. I know they've fallen on hard times recently over the last couple of years or so. Question is this team truly back? Is this the team that we saw dominate the latter 2010s?
It's not all the way there yet. There's still a work in progress. Obviously, Klay Thompson is not the same Klay that he was a couple of years ago. And even Steph Curry is not the same Steph Curry from a couple of years ago. So this isn't the same championship squad. Are they going to win the series over Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets? Yes. Because I just feel like Jokic is great. He's done an incredible job, but you're missing 2 horses on your team. Michael Porter Jr. and I think it's Jamal Murray. And they both been out with injuries, and as of now, neither one of them are going to be ready for the playoffs. That's a major, major, major problem that you got, because now you got Weitzman, who's really been doing well, who's starting to find his own path. You got Draymond Green, and he's starting to find his legs under him. And if the Splash Brothers starts to find that form where they were the most dominating team in the NBA, the Dynasty Warriors, the 2-time NBA World Champions, if they get going, oh boy, it's an open and shut case. So I got Golden State winning the series in 6. I think they'll finish them in 6. Because I do believe that Denver will steal at least a game or 2, especially on their home court. But the Warriors just got too many weapons that they can't lose this series. I'd be shocked if Denver pulls the upset here. I just don't see it. I got Golden State advancing to the next round. I got Golden State winning in 6. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yes, sir. The Golden State Warriors, 53-29, and Denver Nuggets, 48-34, enter their first-round playoff series, inheriting different circumstances. Though Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green have only played a combined 11 minutes together because of overlapping injuries, the Warriors have experienced mixed success with relying on their 2 stars and a handful of young and veteran young players. Though Nuggets center Nikola Jokic has emerged as a strong contender to defend his Kia MVP trophy, the Nuggets have experienced mixed success with their supporting cast, mitigating the long-term absences, as MF mentioned, of Jamal Murray with the left knee and Michael Porter Jr. with spine surgery. All of which sets up an interesting first-round matchup. The Warriors return to the playoffs for the first time in 3 years with 4 stars that fueled their dynasty run, include Andre Iguodala. But the Warriors have hardly become as dominant as they were during their dynasty years. The Nuggets do not appear as dangerous as when they advanced to the 2020 Western Conference Finals after overcoming 3-1 playoff series deficits, both to the Utah Jazz and the LA Clippers, yet the Nuggets have shown to underestimate them at your peril. The 3 things to watch: number 1, when will Curry return? The Warriors, they plan to evaluate Curry sometime on Monday after missing the past 11 games because of a sprained ligament in his left foot. Coach Steve Kerr recently said there's a chance Curry will play in Game 1. There's a chance he might not. The Warriors had cleared Curry to complete individual on-court work for this past week, but Kerr did not offer much detail on how Curry has progressed with that work. Theoretically, the Warriors will have a whole week to increase Curry's workload for 2-on-2, 3-on-3, and full-court scrimmages with contact. Yet it remains unclear if Curry will need more time to knock off any rust and handle any setbacks. 2, can the Nuggets relieve Jokic's burden? The Nuggets did not share as much clairvoyance on if they can integrate Murray and or Porter Jr. in time for the playoffs. The Nuggets will then need to rely on Jokic to post the Kia MVP-type performances. The Warriors don't have many center options because of James Wiseman's season-ending right knee injury and the organization's decision to prioritize positional versatility. That leaves Aaron Gordon, Will Barton, Monty Morris, Jeff Green, and Bones Highland to relieve pressure off of Jokic. They all have cracked double digits in points this season, partly because of Jokic's persistent double teams and his superior passing. But the Warriors have adopted another strength in numbers identity that helped the team absorb the overlapping absences to Curry, Thompson, and Green. The Warriors are also bullish that a combination of Green and Kevon Looney at the center spot can compensate for their lack of size. 3, how will the Warriors play with their 3 stars? In theory, Curry, Thompson, and Green can pick up right where they left off when they won 3 NBA titles in 5 years, but the Warriors only have 3 other players that have played with them beyond the game. The rest of the roster has yet to fully experience what it is like to play with all 3 players. That dynamic might relieve the pressure for Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins to produce at the same rate they did during the Warriors' previous injuries, but they also might face difficulties with adjusting to a relatively reduced role on the fly in high-stakes games. Number to know is 16.3. The Nuggets outscored their opponents by 8.4 points per 100 possessions with Nikola Jokic on the floor, but were outscored by 7.9 per 100 with him off the floor. That differential, 16.3 per 100, was the biggest among 261 players who played at least 1,000 minutes for a single team. The differential was bigger on offense, 12.3 per 100, but was also significant, 4.1 per 100 on defense, especially when you consider that Jokic was generally on the floor against the opponent's best offensive players. The differential was even bigger, 22.6 points per 100 possessions over the Nuggets' 4 games against the Warriors, with Golden State outscoring Denver by 19, scoring 121.2 per 100 in Jokic's 56 minutes off the floor. But those Jokic off the floor minutes break down to plus 21 for the Warriors in 27 minutes with Curry, who played in 3 of the 4 games on the court, and minus 2 in 29 minutes with Curry off the court. For the full season, Curry had the 9th biggest on-off differential, 12.1 points per 100 possessions, among those 261 players that played at least 1,000 minutes. And in the 89 minutes with both MVPs on the floor, the score was Warriors 192, Nuggets 192. Unlike during their 5 finals runs, the Warriors won't just breeze through this first round without many hiccups. The Nuggets have beaten the Warriors in 3 out of 4 regular season matchups, and Jokic can dominate against anyone. It is possible Curry will need at least some games in this series to knock some rust off his game. Still, the Warriors would only lose this series if something catastrophic happens to one of their 3 stars. Otherwise, Golden State simply has more talent and depth than Denver. Agreed, MF. Golden State wins the series in 6 games. 100% agree. So that's the Saturday portion. Now let's move on to the Sunday portion. And I just want to make sure I have the times correct. So bear with me for just a moment. All right. Okay. So, all right. So next up will be the first round series in the Eastern Conference with the number 1 seed in the East, the Miami Heat, and they'll be squaring off against the number 8 seed, which will be either the Atlanta Hawks or the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Hawks and the Cavs will determine that tomorrow night in a play-in game, and this is a tough one here. It really is. I mean, I don't have a full detailed preview I mean, it's going to be just for the 1-8 matchups, really. So so this matchup and the West 1-8, I'm just going to go on the fly on it. So but I got to go with the Miami Heat either way. Whether it's Atlanta or Cleveland, it doesn't matter. Even though I'm leaning more towards Atlanta to beat Cleveland tomorrow night, considering the run they went on last year, especially Trae Young. But if somehow Cleveland gets there, I say Miami would win the series in 5 or 6. But if it's Atlanta's going to give Miami fits. They really are. But I think Miami will ultimately win the series in about 6, maybe 7, mainly because of Trae Young. Trae Young is going to be very, very tough to. It's going to be very tough to control. So, but I still got Miami winning the series, regardless of who it is. So, not much more to say. MF, Miami's the 1, but who's going to be the 8? Is it going to be Atlanta or is it going to be Cleveland?
Yeah, I mean, and you even broke about the good. You talked about a really good point here is that Miami is definitely the best team out there. They deserve to be the one. The 8 is really going to be a telling process because, like you said, if it is Atlanta, Trae Young is a bona fide superstar. I mean, he's been unbelievable this year, and carrying that team back to possibly yet another playoff. Everybody remembers what he did last year against the New York Knicks and how he just absolutely slaughtered them right out of the playoffs. So I mean, I could see Miami having a lot of fits, having a lot of problems. I do believe Miami will win the series regardless, whoever it is, either Cleveland or Atlanta. But like you said, if it's Atlanta, oh boy, that's gonna be a fight. But if it's Cleveland, don't underestimate Cleveland either. Cleveland was lying in the weeds out there, and they were a dangerous team at one point. They had a lot of key injuries that did hurt them a little bit, but relatively speaking, they were a very good team. Not especially at the beginning of the year. So Cleveland actually was a surprise this year more than anything else. So yeah, I do believe Miami will win the series, and we'll just move on to the next one. So Anthony, it's yours.
That'll be at 1 p.m. Sunday. And the next one, staying in the East, and it's the first of 2 series that we are going to have personal vested interests in. And this first one, it's a shame Michael Bullock's not with us because this is his team.
Yep.
But MF and I will take you through it anyway. We have the number 2, and this may be the most compelling series in the first round in the East. You can easily make an argument for it. Although the other series, the other vested interest series, is just as intriguing. But I think this one may be a little more. The number 2 seed in the East, the Boston Celtics. And they're going to be squaring off against the number 7 seed, the Brooklyn Nets. And it starts Sunday at 3:30. So, MF, now, before we get into MF, it's worth noting that sometime Sunday night, we're going to have a very special edition of TXN Sports World, very special Sunday edition, as we're going to be combining the newly created Celtics chat with the Bulls Corner. The Celtics chat will take precedent first because that game started first. So MF, let's give our loyal viewers out there a little preview of what we can expect with you and Bullock when it comes to the Celtics chat regarding this intriguing series.
Yeah, this is we're gonna be talking about the games, and we're gonna be talking about it in depth, as we always would do with any sport that we have done, no matter if it was NFL, NHL, NBA, Major League Baseball. You're gonna get the in-depth analysis and everything else, and we're gonna tell you what we liked about the game, what we did not like about the game, who was the hero of the night, and who stepped up and who floundered. And the thing is that with the Boston Celtics and Brooklyn Nets, this is without a doubt the most highly anticipated series because a lot of the people, there was a little bit of concern going into the series that everybody was saying, well, Brooklyn is going to be the team that's possibly going to be the odds-on favorite to win the NBA championship. There was a lot of factors and a lot of things that's been going on. But the thing is with Boston, when you got guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and the way that they've been playing and as dominating as they've been, you start to think, you're like, man, Boston might have a puncher's chance here. Well, unfortunately, I think that puncher's chance went out the door because of the fact that they suffered a major injury. They lost one of their big players, Boston did. And now there's even rumors that Ben Simmons could actually play in the series. If Ben Simmons is in, I'm sorry, Boston, you're goners. There's no way you're winning this series now. If Ben Simmons plays like the Ben Simmons of Philadelphia, the dominating gives them 20, 25 points a game, it's a walk. And Brooklyn wins easily. Kyrie's going to be playing guns blazing because he wants to knock the Celtics out. he still holds ill will and a lot of harbingers from the days that he played with the Boston Celtics. So you got that factor. You got KD trying to prove to himself that he is the best player in the world right now. And that, he's hearing all this talk about Giannis. He's hearing to talk about LeBron. He's hearing to talk about, James Harden. That, the only reason why he won the NBA championships was because he was a part of a super team with Klay Thompson, with Steph Curry, when he was with the Golden State Warriors. If KD wants to cement his legacy, he needs to do it emphatically. And that's why I think Brooklyn is going to win the series. It's going to be a dogfight, folks. So expect this to go 7 games. But I do believe the Brooklyn Nets will beat the Boston Celtics. This is an upset, yes. And the reason why is because of the fact that I just don't think Boston has enough weapons. Yes, I think Jason Tatum, in order for them to win it, I think Tatum's going to have to go off. 30, 40. Because I don't think they have enough firepower to withstand the barrage of the Brooklyn Nets. And that's why I think Brooklyn is going to win the series. Even though, yes, Boston's the odds-on favorite, yes, they are the higher seed, Brooklyn's a more dangerous team. And the thing is, they're getting healthier where Boston is losing some key parts to their team. Brooklyn wins in 7. This is my upset special. Anthony, it's yours.
Very good. It's not a huge surprise that the Boston Celtics and Brooklyn Nets are meeting in the 2-7 series for the second straight season. But it's kind of stunning that the roles have been reversed, with Boston the higher seed and Brooklyn the team that needed to go through the play-in tournament. The Celtics exceeded expectations and recovered from an underwhelming start. They were 20-21 and in 10th place, 6 games behind the then number 2 Nets at the midpoint of the season at 25-25 after 50 games. But from that point on, they were the best team in the NBA by a healthy margin, going 26-6, ranking first in both offensive and defensive efficiency, and outscoring their opponents by an amazing 14.6 points per 100 possessions. The Nets obviously failed to meet expectations, struggling after a 23-9 start. Kyrie Irving's vaccination status limited him to 29 games. Kevin Durant missed 27 games with injuries. Joe Harris was lost for the season in November, and James Harden was not his best self before being traded to Philadelphia. But facing Brooklyn is not exactly a reward for finishing second in the conference. The Nets are as dangerous a low seed as you are ever going to see, employing 2 of the most potent scorers on the planet, and just maybe Ben Simmons could make his Brooklyn debut at some point in this series. 3 things to watch. Number 1, 1-on-1 or 4-on-3. The Celtics switch more screens than any team in the league, and a switching scheme can flatten out opposing offenses and force them to play 1-on-1. But no team is more comfortable playing 1-on-1 than the Nets. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are 2 of the 5 players who scored better than a point per possession on at least 5 isolation possessions a game, according to synergy tracking. Even without Robert Williams III with knee surgery, the Celtics don't have any real defensive weak spots in their top 7 guys. But slowing down Durant or Irving is a challenge for any defender. And there will be times when Boston brings 2 to the ball. Then it's a matter of the Nets executing in 4-on-3 situations. And the Nets role players, Bruce Brown in particular, making shots against a team that rotates and recovers as well as any defense in the league. Number 2, for how long can the Nets defend? Brooklyn ranked 20th defensively this season, a slight improvement from last year. And as they finished the regular season on a 12-5 stretch, the Nets ranked 8th on that end of the floor. But even in their most important games, their defensive effort has waxed and waned. Against a team like Cleveland, the Nets can get away with playing just 18 to 24 minutes of good defense. But Boston is a much tougher challenge, with more guys who can handle the ball and attack the basket. No Eastern Conference team scored more efficiently against Brooklyn this season than the Celtics, who scored 121.6 points per 100 possessions as they won 3 of the 4 meetings. And number 3, the minutes on, the minutes off. The Nets have been playing important games for a few weeks now, and they've been leaning heavily on Durant, who's averaged 41.3 minutes over their last 9 games, including the play-in, playing the entire second half 3 times over that stretch. In the regular season, the Nets were 12 points per 100 possessions better with Durant on the floor, plus 6.5, than they were with him off the floor, minus 5.5. There's a reason why Coach Steve Nash doesn't let him sit long, if at all, at the starts of the second and fourth quarters. Of course, one of 9 players with a bigger on-off differential than Durant was Jason Tatum, with the Celtics 14 points per 100 possessions better with their all-star on the floor, plus 12 than they were with him off the floor, minus 1.9. Bench minutes will be key for both teams, and the Nets will have to hope that Durant, assuming he plays 42 to 44 minutes a night, doesn't run out of gas by the end of a long series. The number to know, 62-20. The Celtics finished in a 3-way tie for the Eastern Conference's second-best record, 2 games behind the first-place Miami Heat. But they had the East's best point differential, plus 7.3 points a game, by a huge margin, and the league's biggest differential between the team's expected wins based on points differential and its actual wins. The Celtics were 51-31 with the point differential of a team that was 62-20. The positive is that the Celtics were statistically the best team in the East by a healthy margin. They had 18 wins, tied with Memphis for the league lead by 20 or more points. The negative is that they struggled in close games, going 13-22. Only the Indiana Pacers were worse, in games that were within 5 points in the last 5 minutes. Jason Tatum shot 2 of 25 on clutch threes, the worst mark among 74 players who attempted at least 15. And while Marcus Smart shot 5 for 17, 29% on clutch twos, in the 26 years for which we have clutch data, the Celtics had the third biggest differential between their winning percentage in non-clutch games, 38-9, winning percentage of 809, and their winning percentage in clutch games, 13-22, 371. The Nets were 22-20 in clutch games, though Boston won the only head-to-head meeting that was within 5 points in the last 5 minutes on March 6th, scoring 13 points on 9 clutch possessions. Kevin Durant will be the best player on the floor, and there will be times when the Celtics can't do anything to stop him. The Nets have the ability to win any game over any team in any arena, having picked up wins in Milwaukee, Philadelphia, and Miami after the All-Star break. But sustained success has been elusive, and the Celtics have simply been the better team over the last 7 weeks. Tatum is the real deal, and over a long series, Boston can probably defend Brooklyn better than Brooklyn can defend Boston. With all due respect, MF, I disagree. I'm going with Boston. I like Boston in this series. I think Boston can win this series in 6 games. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. So that's that. And now the other series that we're going to have the most vested interest in. We go from a preview of the Celtics chat to a preview of the Bulls Corner. MF and I bringing back the Bulls Corner for the first time in quite some time. And here we go. This next matchup, the other intriguing matchup in the Eastern Conference, features the number 3 seed, who happen to be your reigning, defending, undisputed NBA champion Milwaukee Bucks, squaring off against the number 6 seed, the Chicago Bulls. Used to be throngs of Chicago fans would make the drive up I-94 and take over the Bradley Center, turning Milwaukee home games into roadies in this rivalry. That doesn't happen now that the Bucks are the superior team. Besides, the way Chicago has been playing, some of its fans might have brought their booze with them. One of the NBA's happiest storylines of the early season, the resurgent Bulls, who are playoff bound for the first time since 2017, has turned dour. Injuries to Lonzo Ball and Patrick Williams in particular, plus Zach LaVine and Alex Caruso at various times, undercut a lot of Chicago's early work. As recently as February 24, the Bulls were 39-21 and perched atop the Eastern Conference. Since then, a 7-15 elevator shaft that left them 6th. The fall exposed flaws that were there from the start as far as size, 28th in rebounding, and bench. The Bucks never nosedived in the regular season, but they never quite took off either. This season's schedule seemed to be about managing their post-NBA championship honeymoon, pointing toward the postseason for a healthy, relatively tested encore, and that's pretty much where Milwaukee is at, with center Brook Lopez back after sitting out 69 games after opening night, and Giannis Antetokounmpo playing like a two-way Kia MVP favorite in his highest scoring and most efficient season yet, averaging 29.9 points a game. Milwaukee went 15-6 after All-Star weekend and also swept Chicago 4-0 this season, contributing to the Bulls' 2-21 record against the league's top 4 seeds in both conferences. It's hard to find reasons any of this might change. The 3 things to watch: number 1, Drew Holiday's defense. The Bucks defense over the last 2 months of the season wasn't just below their usual standards, it was below most everyone's. After the All-Star break, they ranked 20th in defensive rating, 18th in opponents' field goal percentage, and 28th in foes' three-point percentage. Having Brook Lopez back should help, and Antetokounmpo might be the league's best help defender, but Milwaukee's defense relies first and foremost on guard Drew Holiday. There isn't anyone on Chicago's roster he can't defend. 2. DeMar DeRozan's offense. The veteran swingman was hearing top 5 MVP chatter until the Bulls swooned. His team goes nowhere if he's not leading them. DeRozan upped his scoring from 27.9 points a game overall to 31.3 in the 4 meetings with Milwaukee, but he had to work harder, his accuracy dropping from 50.4% to 47.9%, and his shot attempts rising from 20.2 to 24.3. And 3, extracurriculars. There's juice in this series no matter which way it swings or however lopsided. The last time these teams faced each other in the postseason in 2015 in the first round, Chicago destroyed the Bucks 120-66 in the Game 6 clincher. Young Giannis tackled Mike Dunleavy into the stands to end his afternoon early. Currently, there still is bad blood lingering from the Bulls fan base, at least, toward Grayson Allen, the Bucks guard who cost Caruso 22 games with a broken wrist thanks to his midair flagrant 2. If the series tilts too quickly in one team's favor, chippiness could ensue. And the number to know is 1. The Bucks are the only team that ranked in the top 8 in both three-point percentage, 36.6% fifth, and the percentage of their shots that came from three-point range, 43% sixth. We don't necessarily think of the Bucks as a jump shooting team, but only the Dallas Mavericks at 42.7% took a greater percentage of their shots from outside the paint than Milwaukee at 43.1%. Things were similar on the other end of the floor, with Milwaukee allowing the most three-pointers, 14.5 a game, for the 4th straight season. In regard to three-point volume on both ends of the floor, the Bulls were the anti-Bucks, taking only 33.2% of their shots, the league's lowest rate, and allowing their opponents to take only 36.5% of their shots, league's second lowest opponent rate from three-point range. In the regular season series, the three-point numbers tilted more toward those of the Bulls, with the two teams combining to take less than 36% of their shots from beyond the arc. But in sweeping the 4 games, the Bucks outscored the Bulls 231 to 153, average of 19.5 points a game in the restricted area or at the free throw line. And given the way the Bulls finished the regular season, they're cranky. They realize that if they can't actually succeed as spoilers, they can rough up Milwaukee for 6 or 7 games and make it harder for the reigning champs to defend their title. Well, actually, they can't. Any roughing up better come early, because I think this series is going to be an open and shut and short deal. It pains me to do this, but I got the Milwaukee Bucks winning, and I have it exactly as it happened in the regular season. Clean, gentleman's sweep. 4-game sweep for Milwaukee. I would be very surprised if Chicago steals a game in any circumstance. So, as great as it is to see the Bulls back in the playoffs for the first time in 5 years, I'm afraid it's going to be a quick exit. Milwaukee in 4, pains me to do it, but I got to be honest, and I got to be the man who tells it like it is. So, not much more to say. MF, hey, it's great. It's great to be back in the postseason. It's been 5 long years, but like I said, given how Milwaukee owned us during the regular season, I'll be surprised if we win a damn game in this series.
I mean, yeah, the 4-0 during the regular season, and a lot of people believe that that is the outcome that was going to happen. If the Bulls were fully healthy, if they had Alex Caruso the whole year, if they had Lonzo Ball the whole year, the way DeMar DeRozan was playing, the way Vucevic was playing, the way that Zach LaVine was playing, I mean, honest to God, Chicago was at one time the best team in the Eastern Conference. They were the number 1 seed, and they had it for at least a good solid month before everything started falling apart. It was the injuries was really the reason why Chicago started going in this downward spiral. Unfortunately, that's how this played out, and there's really nothing more to say. So yeah, I do got Milwaukee winning the series as well, and I do believe that they will move on to the next round of the playoffs. So Anthony, it's yours.
Well, we got one series left, and it's that other 1-8 matchup. As it will be, and I'm going to be honest with all of you, the team that I personally have winning it all this year, the Phoenix Suns.
Mm.
They're the number 1 seed, and they made history. They made history.
Franchise record.
64 wins. Yes.
Yeah. Most wins in their franchise history.
Surpassing their previous mark, which you and I as Bulls fans know very well, MF, the infamous 93 team.
The 1993 team. And everybody remembers Dan Marley, Charles Barkley, Kevin Johnson. And boy, did they give the Bulls some fits in that NBA Finals.
One of the great final series of recent year.
Yeah.
Even though it was almost 30 years ago. But
yeah.
But the point is, the Phoenix Suns are back. Let's be realistic. They were a team on a mission because.
Oh yeah.
Let's not forget MF. Last year, here's a team that won the first 2 games against Milwaukee in the NBA Finals, and many thought, "Oh my goodness, this is going to be their year. Chris Paul is finally going to get his moment in the sun." Oh boy, did
somebody should have told that to Giannis, because boy, did he go off after that.
And as Marv said in Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, one of my favorite quotes from that movie, "My, how the tables have turned."
Yeah.
And the tables turned big time. So where I'm getting at is when it comes to this, they're the number 1 seed, and like I said, the obvious odds-on favorite to win. 64 wins in the regular season, most in franchise history, surpassing the 62 wins that the infamous 93 team had. And they're going to be squaring off against the
winner of the winner of tomorrow night's LA Clippers versus New Orleans Pelicans game. That will be tomorrow night at 10 p.m. on ESPN
from the Staples Center in Los Angeles.
From the Staples Center in Los Angeles.
Yep. But MF, MF starting it off. I was trying to find who those teams were because I couldn't remember off the top of my head.
Yep.
So
Pelicans.
And this game, and that game is the reason why AEW Rampage will be starting at a very special time tomorrow night, and why our sister show, the Cerebral Smack Talk, will be starting at
a little earlier. Yeah.
And I can't wait right after SmackDown. So with that being said, MF, Phoenix, let's be realistic. Whether it's New Orleans or the Clippers, it's Phoenix's series to lose.
It absolutely is. I'm not going to deny that. If it's against the Pelicans, it's an easy victory for them. I will say this, though. There is rumors that Kawhi Leonard could be back in time for this first-round matchup if they get there. So I think that if the Clippers gets by and Kawhi shows up, wait a minute now. This could change everything. So I'm still going to go with Phoenix to win it regardless. If they were playing against New Orleans, they finish them in 5. If it's against the Clippers, though, I could see this go 6 or 7. Because you cannot underestimate the way that the Clippers play, and especially how they play at home and everything else. So I think it'd be more of a dogfight than anything else. But I do got the Suns winning the series regardless. So Anthony, it's yours.
Yeah, it's Phoenix. I mean, like I said, they're a team on a mission, and like I said, they are the team to beat when it comes to this overall playoff year. I got this team winning finally getting over the hurdle and winning the NBA championship and giving Chris Paul that long overdue moment he should have had last year. But Milwaukee wanted it more. And why not? Because it had been 50 years before that since they had won it. So they're hungrier, they're more determined, and quite frankly, after the way they dominated the regular season, there's no doubt about it in my mind. This team is championship bound. There's no doubt about it. So Phoenix wins. If it's New Orleans, I think it'll be a sweep. If it's the Clippers, I say 5, maybe 6. But regardless, I got Phoenix coming out of the first round. So, all right. So that's it. That will put the bow on this NBA playoff edition of TXN Sports World. hopefully we'll have some more content next week. Although there is one exciting story that we definitely need to address next week, and that's regarding the NHL Winter Classic. It may have lost its luster over the last few years, but next year, oh boy, MF and I are gonna have some big fun with this one. Pittsburgh Penguins, Boston Bruins, Fenway Park. What? Let's go. So we'll get into that next week. Hopefully there'll be some other stories to get into. So but we'll see. So with that, that will put the bow on this special NBA playoff edition of TXN Sports World. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in. We'll be back with you tomorrow night. Very special start time, immediately following Friday Night SmackDown tomorrow night over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. Cerebral Smack Talk, special edition. It's special in the sense that we're going to be going in reverse order. Normally we do SmackDown, then we do Rampage. But in this case, we're going to be doing Rampage first, and then we're going to be doing Friday Night SmackDown. AEW Rampage, headlined, of course, by the biggest match in Rampage history. Hangman Adam Page, Adam Cole, Texas Death Match for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship. Then you're going to have Jon Moxley, Bryan Danielson, and the newest member of the Blackpool Combat Club, Wheeler Yuta, squaring off against the Gunn Club, Billy Gunn, Austin Gunn, and Colton Gunn in a 6-man tag. And then I believe Ruby Soho is going to be going up against Robin Renegade in an Owen Hart tournament, women's tournament qualifying match. And then tomorrow night on SmackDown, the only match that's been announced is that Ricochet will defend the Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship against Jinder Mahal. I'm a little worried. I hope I have no reason to be worried, but we'll have to wait and see. And then the latest with Roman, obviously, RK Bro and the Usos. Maybe RK Bro invades. You don't know. So we'll get into both of those tomorrow night. And then Sunday night, around 10:30 or so, will be our very special edition of TXN Sports World that will be hosted by good old MF Michael Fletcher because he's the one who normally hosts these recap shows in the first place. But we're going to combine the Celtics corner, the Celtics chat, and the Bulls corner because both teams will be playing on Sunday. We'll talk about the Celtics first and then the Bulls second because the Celtics game will be starting earlier than the Bulls game. So we'll do that on Sunday. And then Monday, of course, Ridiculously Raw. And, of course, our normal stuff. And then we'll keep an eye on the playoff schedule. And, we'll take it. And maybe we'll even do some crossovers. Maybe we could do some crossovers. I mean, MF, we've done crossovers before. I mean, we've incorporated sports into wrestling shows and wrestling shows in the sports show.
We'll keep a close eye. We'll guys see how the schedules pan out. But if it's possible, yeah, we could definitely add it.
Yeah, so we'll keep an eye on that and determine future episodes of the Celtics chat and Bulls corner. In addition, of course, our normal content: Monday Night Ridiculously Raw, Monday Night Raw with my Tony's take on Impact Wrestling and NXT Level Up, and then Wednesday Night Madness with MF, as we will have NXT and AEW Dynamite, and then of course we don't. There's not really much on the table when it comes to a docket for next week's show. I really hope it's not going to be a one story show. Hopefully some other things will come out, and maybe it could incorporate some Celtics and or Bulls. We'll have to look into that. But we'll definitely be talking about the Winter Classic. That's for sure. That definitely needs to be addressed. We could have addressed it tonight, but with all the playoff series, we felt this was the best thing to do tonight. So that's that. And then of course Cerebral Smack Talk after that, and of course we'll keep an eye on our respective teams and matchups. Well, Celtics and Bulls will both be playing on Wednesday, so they won't be playing on Thursday. So, and then the Bulls will be on next Friday, Celtics Saturday. Yeah, so we'll figure it out. But for right now, that will put the bow on it. So until tomorrow night, for the very special edition of the Cerebral Smack Talk, immediately following SmackDown over on MF's channel, Brace Fan 95. This is Anthony Florio here for good old MF Michael Fletcher, and in spirit, Michael Bullock and the First Lady Dee Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah, throw it a Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed Friday. And until tomorrow night for the Cerebral Smack Talk, keep it watching this NBA playoff edition of TXN Sports World right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio. So long. Bye, everybody. Bye.